What's going on is Friday. ODELL HUSSEY here on YouTube. This is my Friday show, or just a show to sort of kind of more like a vlog format. I just did a review of the 645D, which is a dinosaur by today's digital standards camera. It came out many years ago. Wow, maybe 8 years ago. I don't know, but it's been a while. Anyway, I did a little short review on that, so I want to maybe kind of gloss over that a little bit, and then also just kind of riff and kind of go. This is a time where I just want to kind of, go off the top of my head and talk a little bit about what I've been working on, what my aims are, and then also offer some insight and some value to those of you who are watching me. First thing, I guess what this is also about is about the documentation of this process. Beginning this year, I started to do more illustrations. I started to draw a lot more. I got an iPad and started to draw digitally. And so I've sort of built a Patreon page to sort of support that and to support what I'm doing photographically as well. And so those things are moving along forward. But the drawing really sort of kind of popped into sort of form. I always keep talking about the trifecta, which is, for me, which is the photography, the video, which you're watching, and the illustration or the drawing. The three of those things together are sort of like my thing, my creative thing. And so all of this around here is sort of catering to that. So I think I guess the lesson there is like figuring out what it is that you love to do, and then just creating media and creating content around that and talking about that is sort of how you move forward and to reach more people and to be able to connect with people. So to just sort of go here to the illustration real quick and what I'm doing. Of course, I'm trying to launch a line of t-shirts. I'm trying to launch I should say e-shop where I'm going to be selling t-shirts and hoodies. And that's got me really jazzed and excited. So that's what I'm doing on the illustration and drawing front. And I guess what I want to talk about and what I will make some videos about down the line is just sort of talking about that process. And there's already like a ton of videos on YouTube about that. There are kids just making a killing, making t-shirts and then selling them, running ads on Facebook and on all the media platforms. So that sort of caught my eye as something that I would enjoy to do. And I thought, well, hey, I started this drawing thing, I started this illustration thing. Maybe I can, sort of steer it a little bit towards the idea of creating designs that will sell, that look good, that I can, push forward out there and try to get some sales that way through my store, which will be at my website, ODELLHUSSEYDRAW.com. So one thing I don't want to make this thing about. I know it's my vlog, it's my thing. I don't want it to be me. I don't want this to be, too much of an egotistical thing. Even though, I guess us filming ourselves can feel that way. It's really not. This is a great way to communicate. It's like I could write a blog, or I could record a vlog, or I could record a message. So okay, moving on. That's moving forward. The drawing, the illustrating, that's moving forward. And so next show, I hope to have some t-shirts. I hope to have some things to show you. I've got stickers, I've got them all over my, my phone and stuff. And ODELL HUSSEY Draw was sort of like that, thing coming forward at the beginning of this year, 2018. Let's go back to photography. Okay, the 645D, I talked about this camera. And why would you want a camera like this? You really don't need a camera like this unless you are, into the bigger sensor and you're into that medium format look. There is a lot of new cameras, newer technology. Canon has supposedly a new medium format camera coming out, and so there still seems to be a need and a demand for big images, bigger sensors, and that's going to continue to be so. So I think when this came out, in the beginning, it was really kind of like, wow, and that's why the camera cost close to $10,000. I think is when it first came out. That's what it cost. I talked a little bit about how I've used it. I began using it doing tabletop photography. It's really good for that. Product photography, great for that. Lock it down and just, you have a lot of extra space with the sensor size that it has. Produces like roughly a 50 megapixel file. In the sensor is a 40 megapixel sensor. I believe it's 40 megapixels. I know the Z is like 50 megapixels. Anyway, it's a lot of megapixels. It's a lot of space. I'm not going to always be giving you the all the technical stuff. What I want to give you is more like the emotional and the more practical commentary and passion about it. I used it, yeah, for tabletop, and then I started using it for portraits here in the studio on a high key or on a low key. It's good for that. So it's just a fun camera to use. I think when you're a photographer, you do fall in love with gear sometimes, and that can be a very dangerous game. And I've definitely, flirted along that line. That's another thing we can talk about here on an honesty point that, photography and video both are dangerous industries to be in as a creative, as an artist, because you can easily, spend a lot of money. What I want to push and what I want to talk about more is like the used market and how I've purchased most of my gear used. A lot of it through B&H used department. They've got like a treasure trove of gear there, and there's always new stuff coming in and out of there. You can even sell your own gear. I've sort of come to a thing of like, I just don't like selling gear. Every time I do it, I always regret it. Almost every single time, I just regret it, because when I invest in a piece of gear, it's sort of like I'm saying, it's like buying a car, like a classic car. Prices are different, but you know what I mean? You're a collector, and I'm not necessarily a collector of cameras. I don't have hundreds and hundreds of them like some people, but I do, when I invest in something, I like to think that I can keep it for a long time and I can continue to make images with it that are going to be, useful and going to be impactful. And I think this camera can do that. It really can. I almost sold it, came close to selling it. You can get in, again, glass can be cheap, used market, used, this was actually even used. Basically everything, all my glass has been used with the Pentax, because that's one thing about it, the new glass is so expensive, up to $5,000 for a piece of glass. It's like, whoa, come on now. That's a lot, and there's a 25 millimeter that I've excuse me, that I've used with this camera body. It's really, really nice. So I've got on here right now on the red, I've got a Pentax, got a 45 millimeter with a camera, with a Canon EF mount adapter on it. So that's what I'm shooting this on right now. Again, so those are the two things going on with the photography and the video. Another thing with the photography real quick, to sort of get this conversation, get this ball rolling for myself, and I'm doing this because I hope that as I go along through this, there's going to be lessons here down the road for other people and that might be starting something. I'm trying to do a little class, a little ODELL HUSSEY photography lesson thing for my photography side. Something here in the San Francisco Bay Area where I would be working with beginner photographers and sort of helping to demystify their DSLRs while those are still relevant before the iPhone takes over everything, which it already, is beginning to do in certain areas. But yeah, so I thought I could do this, this little class, this little small class, and so I sort of typed up, a little bit of an outline of what that would be, sort of what I would be talking about, and so I sort of wanted to run that by, and see how it sounds and how it feels to other people, and also when I hear this back, I want to, I want to go like, is this good? Is this going to work? And I think it can. I think a lot of people have cameras at home, DSLRs that they've gotten from either a gift or they've bought while they were at Walmart. They saw a Canon package and they bought it, and they just, they use auto mode and everything. And what I want to really do is stop them from using auto mode and really preach shooting in manual mode and understanding how to get good images by controlling the light that they're exposed to. A lot of times auto works well in well-lit areas, but it doesn't always work well, and it doesn't always allow you to master your technology. If you're going to have a DSLR, you should know how to use it. And so that's sort of the whole beginner lesson is sort of set on that. Like, you know, let's get you using your camera in manual mode so you have full control, so that you can branch out and maybe start using off-camera flash, and, you know, using a radio trigger, you know, to you know, use your flash. That's something I think once I started doing that, it's really made my images look a lot better. It just, you know, when you control the light, you control your image. So that would be part of it. I would talk about, you know, what I call the pillars of, you know, of photography, or of the DSLR especially, you know, and how these things influence your image. You know, we talk about ISO, shutter speed, and the f-stop, and how those affect the image, you know, with your ISO, you know, the higher you go, you know, the more grain that can be introduced into your image. Sensors nowadays are ridiculous. You're able to go into like crazy ISOs and get minimal noise and be able to cancel that out. So that's constantly changing. How your shutter speed affects your image. You know, if you have fast moving, if you're covering like a sporting event, if you're covering, if someone is just stationary, how you can use that to let more light in, and do different effects with that in terms of like ambient light and dark light situations. And then the f-stop, you know, controlling your depth of field, how you get those really kind of like that really blurry background and that super hyper focus on the face, the eyes, how to sort of achieve that. And then, you know, understanding white balance, and color temperature, and how those affect your image. And then also the benefits of shooting in RAW mode and not JPEG. JPEG is going to compress your image. RAW is going to allow you, give you more latitude in post to improve that image, like bringing up the exposure, you know, changing the contrast, you know, making the blacks blacker, darker, you know, all that kind of stuff. So RAW mode really gives you more information. It's a bigger file, but it allows you to, you know, so I would do this, you know, kind of lesson. I would talk about these things in a small group setting, maybe one person, maybe 3 people, maybe a group of people that know each other. And, you know, I'm down to like do that with older adults, people who are like, you know, in their 50s, 60s, and 70s even. I think it would be cool. I think younger generation might be a little bit more, you know, they're more resourceful, and can go on YouTube and maybe find a video like this to teach them. Yeah, so the bottom line of the little educational thing would be teaching clients how to get better compositions, how to pose their subjects, and how to, you know, utilize the ISO, the shutter speed, and the f-stop to make those images look amazing. Also, another class I can offer in addition to that is sort of like offloading those images. If you're using the class would be built around Lightroom CC and how you can process your images once you're done shooting. And you basically, all you need for the class is a DSLR, obviously a memory card, ideally one flash, like a strobe that can go on your camera. And yeah, positive attitude I wrote here, you know, bring a positive attitude. So yeah, I've been toying with that idea. Excuse me. Obviously, that's, you know, I've got to kind of put that into practice. I've kind of got the outline for it, so I just need to put that into practice. And I'm thinking about how to reach people. Can I reach people through a Facebook group kind of thing, you know, branching off of my Facebook page I already have on there. I really want to sort of cater to the area that I'm in. I'm in the Sunset District here in San Francisco. It's kind of its own little suburban kind of vibe out here. So I really want to tap into that. Yeah, and work locally. I like the idea of working locally. So yeah, that was a chunk there. I know I talked a lot there about that, but that's the, you know, that's what's going on here in the photography. If you have any questions about the 645D, if you have any questions about starting a class, I have no idea. I know there's lots of information out there about it, and I've gleaned and I've studied, but I'll tell you this, the only way you really do it or learn how to do it is by just that, by sort of like just let's go, you know what I mean, and put together all your ideas, put it on paper. I want to create a PDF that I can give to people who take the class. So that's an idea that's kind of sitting there. And you know, again, I talk about this all the time. Here's something we can all learn from: is ideas are a dime a dozen. You know, there's no shortage of ideas. It's the execution that is the rare bird. It's the rare thing. It's like very few people actually execute their ideas. Recording this is part of the reason I'm doing this, is to hold myself to those ideas and to preach those ideas. And hopefully from that comes everything that needs to come from it, you know. And showing this to you and sharing this with you is hopefully connecting with you, because I know a lot of you have the same sort of, you know, ambitions, and some of you are already doing it, some of you are successful, some of you are struggling, some of you are just getting started, some of you are jaded as, you know, and want to quit. I've been there. I've been there with photography, and so all this kind of stuff is sort of like, yeah, I'm sort of reimagining it and reshaping it, and it feels good. It feels really good to do it this way. And I really credit drawing for sort of unlocking that, because once I started drawing, I found that I could do other things to sort of fulfill that need to create like all the time. Photography is a little bit more difficult to do that. You need subjects, and I like taking pictures of people. So I have to schedule my, you know, the way my life is. All of us have different things that we have, schedules that we have to deal with. So, you know, the biggest thing is like no excuses, right? You figure it out, you find the time, and you make it happen. That's my Friday rant, because I think that was a lot of ranting, but this is sort of what I want to do. It's just straight to you, just straight talk, whether you listen to this or not, whether you find value in it or not. Hopefully you do. If you are into what I'm doing, please subscribe. If you want to check me out, like my work in terms of photography and illustration, you can find me on Instagram, just Odell Hussey, draw and Odell Hussey, and you'll find my photography. You can also, if you want to support me, Patreon is a great way to do that. Started a Patreon page about 3-4 weeks ago, about a month ago. That's a baby, so I'm learning a lot about how to manage that. That's going. The t-shirt, the e-shop is going to be opening up very, very soon. Once that's opened up, I will talk about that, and that will be a part of the show as well. As we sort of like, you know, this is like kind of where you see it, you know. This is where I get on here and I just talk about the things, the passions that are in my life, the things that I love, which is creating with photography, with digital illustration and drawing, and with video. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much, YouTube. I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.